lizards and snakes and crocodiles. Oh my goodness, these creatures have been around for way longer than we have, and they know more about survival than we could ever hope to. They're adaptable, resourceful, and often very beautiful. But don't take our word for it. Check out these dope reptiles for yourself. We always thought that we were the best, right? The most advanced creatures on this planet. But it turns out there are some pretty dope reptiles out there who might just give us a run for our money. Take, for example, the organ-possessing Gila monster or the tongue-slicing granite night lizard. Yeah, these guys are definitely giving us a run for our money. Today, we focus on reptiles. All animals on Earth have been categorized into two groups by scientists, those with backbones and those without. Vertebrates are creatures with backbones, and invertebrates are creatures without them. Then there are 5 divisions within the vertebrate group. You have mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians. Animals are classified into these groups according to their shared traits or characteristics. Animals each have their own unique characteristics. However, some species also have one or more traits in common. For example, fish and birds both lay eggs. Amphibians and reptiles are both cold-blooded. Birds and mammals are both warm-blooded, and so on. So even if there are some parallels among each of these groupings, there are also some distinctions. Reptiles have hard, scaly, dry skin, but amphibians have soft, wet skin. Birds have wings and live on land, while fish have gills and live in water. Mammals have warm blood, while reptiles have cold blood. I always found it fascinating that animals could be grouped into these two distinct categories, mammals and reptiles. As a kid, I loved learning about both groups, but I was so much more fascinated by reptiles. They always seemed so otherworldly to me, with their scaly skin and their cold-bloodedness. I remember asking my mom if I could have a pet reptile, and she said, absolutely not! But she did tell me that reptiles are amazing creatures that are so cool and full of personality. They don't carry diseases, and they're pretty harmless, unless you're bitten by a venomous snake, which is extremely rare. Here, we'll discover more about reptiles and their characteristics. For example, we just learned that they're scaly and have dry skin. The reptile family is one of the biggest animal groupings on the planet. This family includes alligators, turtles, lizards, snakes, and more. Due to their backbones, all reptiles are vertebrates. You are warm-blooded because you're a mammal, which means that your body temperature stays the same no matter how hot or cold it is around you. The only time your body temperature changes is if you're sick or you have a fever. Reptiles, though, are cold-blooded, which means that their internal body temperature is the same as the temperature of the air around them. Their body temperature changes depending on how hot or cold it is. Kind of like a thermostat, right? When it's cold outside, the thermostat kicks on and warms up the house. And when it's hot outside, the thermostat kicks on and cools down the house. Being a reptile is kind of like not having a thermostat. Instead, they just keep the windows open. Cold-blooded reptiles can't produce their own body heat, so they don't need to eat as much as warm-blooded animals do. They're more like a car that idles all day and uses less gas rather than a car that's driven around all day. Instead, reptiles rely on outside resources for heat instead of using the energy from their food to help them maintain a constant body temperature. So for instance, to stay warm, snakes and lizards rest on warm rocks that are exposed to the sun. Despite having extremely dry skin, reptiles don't require lotion. And because of their dry skin actually, they can survive in arid, super dry environments by retaining moisture. Also, reptiles have tough skin formed of keratin. Your fingernails and the feathers of birds are also formed of keratin. Reptiles with scales are better protected though, since it's more difficult for a predator to bite or harm them. Others, like turtles and crocodiles, have special scales called scutes that are very thick. They feel almost like bone. Some reptiles, like snakes, have smooth scales. There are numerous variations in the sizes and shapes of lizard scales. Some lizards have scales on the soles of their feet called lamellae that help them climb various surfaces. Many reptiles molt their skin or scales. Every time a snake grows larger and outgrows their older skin, it sheds that skin. Snakes also shed to get rid of any parasites that could have grown on their previous skin. What other cool reptiles are out there? Chameleons can alter the color of their skin. They use colors to communicate with other chameleons. Additionally, the chameleon may alter its skin tone to a brighter shade when it needs to cool off, or a darker shade if it needs to absorb more heat from the sun. Isn't that like the coolest skill ever? It's kind of like wearing a white or a black shirt in the sun. The white shirt will reflect the sun's rays and help you feel cooler, while the black shirt will absorb more heat, making you feel hotter. The majority of reptiles lay eggs to create baby reptiles. These eggs have a rubbery appearance and feel. A small proportion of snakes and lizards give live birth to their young instead of laying egg. These include the extremely venomous viper snake, boa snakes, garter snakes, and a few more. A few species of the little lizards known as skinks also have live babies. Baby mammals, including puppies, kittens, and human infants, require parental care once they're born. However, a reptile's young can survive on their own from the moment they're born. They don't even need a parent to take care of them. Instead, the young reptile is responsible for providing for itself and finding food. A mother sea turtle is kind of like a mother bird in that she protects her nest by carefully burying her eggs in the sand. Both mothers are fiercely protective of their young, and will go to great lengths to keep them safe from harm. Then once the hatchlings are born, they have to dig their way out of the nest, which may take them days or even a week. And then they have to swim to the ocean. Because they're exposed to the elements and are at risk from scavengers, this process can be really dangerous. And because of that, many hatchlings don't survive to adulthood. Reptiles have 4 short legs and often have claws on their feet. Snakes are one type of reptile that don't have any legs. Reptiles breathe through their lungs, just like humans do. Reptiles also have inner ears covered by a thin flap of skin behind their eyes, rather than outward ears. Instead of listening, snakes mostly rely on the vibrations that they sense. It's like trying to listen to a conversation in a room of people with a lot of people talking. You can't hear what one person is saying, but you can feel the vibrations of all the voices combined. Okay, reptile fun facts. One fascinating animal known as a gecko uses its tongue to smell, as do snakes and lizards. A gecko is a type of lizard that lacks eyelids and can't blink. If a predator grabs its tail, the gecko will detach it. The tail will then continue to wriggle and divert the predator long enough for the gecko to escape, and then the gecko just grows a new tail within 30 days. That's freaky, but pretty useful, I guess. Alligators resemble lizards but are much longer. Some can even reach lengths of 4 meters and can swim at speeds of 20 miles per hour? What else? Did you know that majority of the prehistoric dinosaurs were reptiles? Except for Antarctica, every continent is home to reptiles. Brumation is a form of hibernation used by people who live in cold climates. As the weather gets colder, reptiles like lizards, tortoises, turtles, and snakes look for warm, cozy places to spend the winter, such as under a log. During this time, their metabolism slows down to conserve energy for the upcoming year. For several weeks, they don't consume any food or liquids, use the restroom, or move. However, snakes are different from other animals in that they don't eat, but they do drink, and will move to a water source if they're dehydrated. Now, reptiles are just one group of animals that live all over the world. Some live in warm climates while others live in cold climates. Some live on land while others live in water. Reptiles are to animals what books are to literature. So, which reptile would you pick if you could have one as a pet? Now stop being a boggart and pass on these digital edibles by sharing this video. Thanks!